Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we have your Extreme Rules results and plenty of opinions to go with. And we also have AEW Grand Slam Night 2, which happened last Friday night on Rampage. We have the G1 New Japan Tournament nights 3, 4, 5, and 6. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. the Stoned Pitbull. And sitting to my left, as always, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
You motherfucker, that should be mine, goddammit. I'm so fucking pissed.
I asked Vice, I was like, have I ever done this one before?
No, he has not, and I'm mad as fuck. That should be one of mine when he is gone. So now, before we get real belligerent out here in the middle of nowhere, let's bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 225, chapter 3, verse 14, and the good smart saying, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat, the holy trinity of BFR. I'm just ready to talk some wrestling. I want to hear what you guys think about a lot of shit. Zack said something interesting on our text thread today, which led me to believe that he was abducted in some form or fashion. He said that a match on Raw, or maybe matches on Raw, were better than matches on the G1. And I texted him back, and I was like, you know, if you're in trouble, just say the Young Bucks suck, so that way we know you're in trouble.
I was thinking Dexter got a hold of his phone. And out there in Portland, Oregon, we have Two Beer Zach Pullman. What's going on?
Oh, man. On my second beer, so I'm almost 2 beer. And, it's been good. Like, a lot of really good wrestling. I've been watching WWE, like, every week. I think this wrestling war is working. Like, the Raw, like, WWE's just gotten more interesting to watch. Some of it still sucks, but, I mean, when you have 5 hours of television every week, like, some of it's gonna suck. But, no, man, this is fun.
It's definitely gotten more interesting. We're coming at you from cloudy,
overcast,
kind of nice.
Yeah, it's still nice. It's just
Charles,
overcast.
Missouri. It was hot out earlier today. It's pretty nice right now.
Dude, it's been like in the 50s and raining every day, and I love it. That's my favorite shit.
You're like Ethan Hawke from Reality Bites.
We just showed our age right there.
Oh, do you guys not get that? Turn this podcast off.
Right. No, I was about to say, listen to the podcast and then go watch Reality Bites and then come back and talk to us on that one.
And without further ado, let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Kick us off, JCB.
Let's jump back to Sunday night, Extreme Rules. Interesting show. Not as... I had low expectations coming in because this felt like a bridge show, Crown Jewel, Survivor Series coming up, bigger shows, more important shows, at least for me. Survivor Series is the bigger show. More important show is one of the big 4. I know you don't give a shit about it, Bill, but to me, it's one of the big 4. It's one of my faves. All that being said, I had low expectations coming in. This was better than I anticipated. There was still a couple of wonky moments, and we'll just kick it off with that. The biggest wonky moment of the bunch was in the main event when you had one demon as the demon, Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. I thought they were doing a pretty good match up until they kind of went back to something that I didn't think worked then and definitely didn't work on Sunday, where the lights went out, where they went red, whatever, and now you have Finn Balor convulsing on the floor. His music comes up, he revives himself, and then he has like this second wind of momentum. Okay, not necessarily the way I would do it, but I kind of get the story where we're going with it. So he gets Roman Reigns in a position where he's getting ready to drop the coup de grace, and he's on the turnbuckle, and he's up there for a while, and I'm seeing a bunch of smoke, and I'm like, okay, so why is he still standing there? I mean, let's do this or not. He's there for, it felt like 5 minutes. It was probably more like 30 seconds. And then the next thing you know, the turnbuckle implodes. He bites it. Reigns hits the spear. 1, 2, 3, match is over. Okay. My problem with this is what happened subsequently before that. The Demon took this ass kicking, got off the mat, revived himself, and then started to kick more ass, took out the Usos and Roman Reigns, and the turnbuckle is the way this Nah, dog. No. Okay, if you're going to go like that, just run it back. Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, have Roman win, and just be done with it. There was so much angst on Twitter about how the Demon lost and how this wasn't right. I just don't understand why they did it this way. I shouldn't say that. They probably did it this way to protect the Demon's gimmick. If you wanted to protect the gimmick, then don't even put him in this match. That's the way you protect them. This way didn't do anything. It became, now what was the worst match that we've seen between the two big promotions? Is it the barbed wire exploding barbed wire match or this match? Because they both ended up pretty fucking janky. Good up to the point where it went south, and then it went south real quick. That's my problem with the main event.
Zach, what did you think about the main event at Extreme Rules between Finn Balor and Roman Reigns?
Some of it was good because it was the only Extreme Rules match on all of Extreme Rules. So Roman did some fun heel shit because, everybody's chanting for tables all pay-per-view because they bought a ticket to Extreme Rules, and Roman's just like, nah, I'm not giving you the table. Nah. But, it was fine and pretty good match. And then, they did the special effects stuff, and that red light came back out. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, this is like the Fiend all over again, man. Mm-hmm. Finn Balor just starts flopping like a fish out of water. So I guess the whole idea was he was literally dead and he resurrected, at least in storyline. I don't know. But it was creative, at least. I mean, I'm not going to completely shit on it. Not my cup of tea. Not how I want my main event title match, but it was something that I hadn't seen, and I wasn't expecting anything out of this pay-per-view at all anyway. So it was much better than the 5 minutes of Alexa Bliss screaming and crying about her doll that I had seen right before that. So
that's a low bar.
Yeah,
ain't got no argument for me on that.
It was better than being kicked in the balls repeatedly.
Listen, right. This is my biggest problem with the end of that. I've never been the biggest Demon guy. I've always said he looks like the boogeyman. If you're going to trot out the Demon I don't even like calling it that, the Demon. If you're going to have Finn Balor come out as the Demon and fight Roman Reigns, and then you're going to have this supernatural stuff go on, then Finn Balor has to win.
Go over. Yeah, I agree totally.
I mean, if you're going to have all this stuff happen, and then he stands on top getting ready to do the coup de grace, and the ropes break at the top, and then he falls. Listen, kayfabe style, this guy was dead, and then started flopping up and down like he was alive again. His music starts playing out of nowhere. Then he goes to do the coup de grace. Then the ropes break. He falls 5 feet, and now he's done for. No. It's just it's overbooking to the max, man. It's TNA 2008 booking. It's Vince Russo high booking. You can't either protect Finn Balor or don't. If you're going to have Finn Balor come out as the Demon and do this, I'm not even talking about all the hocus pocus stuff, which it
is what it is.
Well, it's, as Zach said, it's not my cup of tea.
Not at all.
I'm willing to give it a pass, though, if Finn Balor goes over in that situation.
And that's what he should have did.
I'm not going to sit here and shit on it because if you're a listener of the show, you know that I could shit on this for a long fucking time.
Shit, you better than me.
Which I want to. I thought this pay-per-view was bad, actually. I thought the Usos versus Street Profits was really good. I actually loved the Usos versus the Street Profits. I thought the main event was decent until the very end. I thought everything else was pretty much garbage. I really liked Damian Priest Sheamus on Raw the night after much more than I liked the pay-per-view event. And
who'd you pick on that, by the way?
I picked Jeff Hardy, but I picked. Listen, we all got 5 points. I just tallied it up, so you can say that my Jeff Hardy pick. You can say my Jeff Hardy pick was terrible, but we all got the same amount of points.
Okay, at least my
because you motherfuckers picked Liv Morgan.
No, I did not pick Liv Morgan.
I got it written down right here. Liv.
Oh, Liv won though.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Oh,
dumbass.
Shit, did she really? I didn't watch.
Yes.
I didn't watch the pay-per-view.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, well then I lost. Liv beat Carmella?
Yes. You dumbass.
I
So
fell
more
asleep.
so to my point. Okay, the one I missed was literally the coin flip, Charlotte and Alexa. And up until this point, and I didn't know about this, and Zack obviously didn't know about this either because we talked about this on the text thread. I didn't know this was going to be in Alexa's hometown. So that's strike one right there. Apparently, strike two is she's going off to have sinus surgery. So that's why they basically wrote her off of a storyline because she freaked the fuck out because Charlotte ripped up Lily. Okay, so she's going to be gone for a little bit.
What are we doing here? We're grown men.
No,
we're
I'm
talking
just
about
saying.
Lily, and
I'm
we're
just
talking
saying.
about demons.
Hey.
Like, what the fuck are we doing?
And okay, so it goes back to my point at the beginning of the pod.
This is a children's show. We're talking about a children's show.
When Zack was saying that there was matches on Raw better than the G1, I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody's got his phone.
Oh, we'll get to the G1 in a little bit.
Who touched you wrong?
So, do you have anything to say about Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss?
It was better. It was better than I thought it was, but then ultimately the ending was just so over the top. Where I don't want to have an investment in this Alexa Bliss character. I can care even less about Lily, and just having her go on about this shit was just a little too much. I get it, but goddamn,
Dude, it went on forever.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's a
it
fucking
just would not
doll,
stop.
for Christ's sake. I mean, come on. I get it, but you really didn't have to have her like eating the stuffing and shit. Okay, that's where I was just like, okay, we can go to commercial now.
I must have been asleep during that. Zach, do you have anything to say about Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch?
Oh, God. So another example.
Sasha
Here
Banks
you go.
comes back?
So, yeah, you have another example, just like you did in the men's title match, of let's put two people together. Let's book a match where we don't want to beat either person. Just don't make the match, right? It's the most simple booking thing ever. It's booking 101. If you have two people that you don't want to beat, you just don't make the match, right?
From your lips to God's ears.
You can't
man.
do that though.
No, yes, you can.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Look what they just did at SummerSlam.
Book a tournament. Book a tournament where Chad Gable goes over.
You can't. No.
There's all sorts of stuff you
Chad
can do.
Gable's going to wrestle Becky Lynch. No, we're talking.
How does
Call it the-
AEW
call
do
it
it
the
then?
Shorty G1.
That's good. How does AEW do it then? How does AEW manage
So, like,
to?
they had an example, like, because they have a longer plan, right? They're not just booking matches for like a specific pay-per-view, right? So Danielson and Omega, perfect example. They don't want to beat either guy. You do a draw, and now people want to see that match even more. They don't do some shitty DQ.
Right.
And I mean, that's just what you expect WWE to do, because that's how they book. That's how they get themselves out of these booking situations that they put themselves in. It's like, oh, here it is again, the consequences of my own action.
Right.
Like, just
Right.
come
Well,
the fuck on.
here's my thing. Jason says, but you can't do that. It's like, yes, you can. It's like you have a roster full of people. There are ways to book this stuff. Here's the thing. WWE does not tell stories. They just don't. And I'll get to this later when we get. they book matches, but they don't tell stories. And I'll get into this later when we get into Raw, which is probably there was something that really bothered me. But anyway, anything else to say about Extreme Rules? I did not think this was a very good show. I'll never return to it. It's in my past.
I'll just say,
funny. I thought that exact same thing as I was watching it just a couple matches in. I was like, why? I'm almost like wasting my time watching it. I didn't have shit else to do like Sunday night anyway. I was just laying in bed reading and it was on. You know, I kind of glanced up at it. But I was like, I will never return to this. Like, I have this vast archive of WWE content at my fingertips at any time, and I will never return to this pay-per-view.
It will always, if Extreme Rules 2021 is remembered for anything, it'll be remembered as the one time they broke the ropes, Finn Balor fell down. It's like, and then we have to wait until Friday, till Roman Reigns and Finn Balor are both on the show, for us to find out that, Paul Heyman had some box cutters or something.
God intervened. That's why he pointed. That's why Roman pointed up to the sky afterwards. You know, it's not we're the ones. He just thank you Jesus that the turnbuckle broke. I'm just gonna say this, and then we can go to Raw if you want to. The way they have booked Becky v. Bianca, you had to have this match. Like I said before, Bianca was this big babyface that they put time into. There was, if you're saying that WWE doesn't make stories, there was a Bianca Belair story all the way up until SummerSlam. And then SummerSlam came up, they moved Becky up.
And they ruined it.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that. Okay, we will agree with that. They fucked it up.
Okay.
But now at that point, you can't just have the next pay-per-view come up as Extreme Rules, have a build up to it, and then say, okay, you know what? We're not going to do this fucking match.
Well, then book a winner, you pussies.
Look, but then you forget, Sasha Banks was supposed to be at SummerSlam. It makes storyline sense. She was supposed to be at SummerSlam, going for the title. She wasn't there, filling the reason in the blank why.
Does it have to happen at the pay-per-view? Can't she come up like a couple weeks before, or maybe the week after? Maybe have Becky Lynch go over. Maybe have Bianca Belair go over.
I know you like the Bill Vegas special. I get that.
I'm not even talking about that, though.
That's the next option. But that would be the next option.
If you would have listened to me, though, that's not what I said. I said have Becky Lynch go over at Extreme Rules or Bianca go over. Who cares? And then throw in Sasha Banks. Then maybe you have the Bill Vegas special. But why even, it's just, listen.
You're mad about the finish versus the match itself. That's what I'm getting.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's fine.
Once again, this is never a criticism of the performers.
We're not talking about
It's a criticism of the booking.
I'll say this.
Just like wrestling, always better with a finish.
I can't come up with anything after that. You got it.
Okay, well, let's move on to Raw. We'll cover WWE in the 1 count, AEW in the 2 count, and NJPW in the 3 count. So, on Raw, what was the most important thing that happened to you? We'll throw it to Two Beer, because Two Beer on our text thread was talking about how there were matches that he liked on Raw that were better than G1 matches. So, tell us what you thought.
Please do tell.
As far as the matches, obviously the best G1 matches were better than anything on Raw, but a lot of G1 matches, there's some skippable stuff. I'm not skipping anything because I love the whole story. I like seeing how everybody performs, throughout the entire tournament. But as far as the good stuff on Raw, they obviously threw us a title match, but that was the third best match on the show. I really liked AJ and Riddle. Riddle's always on. That guy's always going to go out there and give it his all. And AJ is not going to go in there with a guy like Matt Riddle and have a bad match or have him show him up. He's like, I'm fucking AJ Styles. I'm just going to do this shit. And they had a really fun match. And then Sheamus and Damian Priest had a better Extreme Rules match than anything on Extreme Rules. a lot of that shit, I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, they're just killing each other.
I agree.
I think Jason said it best whenever he was just like, man, I bet Damian Priest's going to be happy whenever he gets away from Sheamus. And same thing with Sheamus. Like, he's had his nose broken twice in this feud. Like, the poor guy. But those were really good matches. And I don't tune into Raw to watch good wrestling matches. But they gave those guys time.
Motherfucker, you don't even turn into Raw.
good-
So don't sit up here and act like you over there grinding the 3 hours every week.
No, I absolutely don't. It's been 3 weeks in a row, though, that I've watched that Hulu version of Raw and enjoyed myself. And we got a title match.
Okay, so let me ask you this real quick, and then you can go back to it. So the first match you watched on Raw, what was the main event? Was that where Roman Reigns came over and he was with the Usos, basically the Bloodline invaded Raw, or was it the week before that?
It was the week before that.
Okay.
Yeah, because last week was the week that Roman.
So it was basically the Big E title win. You watch the next week, and then you watch this week.
Yeah, so pretty much since Big E, won the championship, I heard he won the championship, so I watched the next day, and I've been watching since.
Okay, that's fair.
I've also discovered that since Big E won the championship, Raw has stopped losing to Dynamite and has won 2 weeks in a row. I'm not sure what that means or how they do ratings anymore, but that is something that I heard. That's interesting to me. If you would have told WWE a year and a half ago that they'd be fighting to beat Dynamite, though, they would feel like big time fucking losers.
Oh, with their flagship show. I mean, they would have been like, oh, it's NXT? You'd be like, no. Guys, NXT
Right.
won't even be around anymore. AEW will have killed it a very fast death.
If you'd have told them a year and a half ago they'd have had to move NXT away from AEW Dynamite, and then in that same breath, AEW Dynamite would be nipping on the heels of their flagship show, they'd have looked at us like we were fucking crazy.
Strange
They would have
times.
been like, they'll be like, Vince, fan from Ringside doesn't even talk about NXT anymore. And he's like,
We're actually not going to tonight. I mean, I guess we can talk about it a little bit.
I want to talk about it for a little bit.
So, Jason, I'm going to talk to you about when this happened on Raw. I thought of you first and foremost. The Hurt Business is back in business.
Question mark.
And, the draft is coming up this Friday, I believe.
Yes.
But it looks like Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are back with Bobby Lashley, and MVP is still out selling an injury.
Right.
Were you happy about this?
The knee-jerk reaction was initial shock, but then as I stopped to think about it, I was like, okay, this is happening for a reason. They just don't do things like this for no reason. New Day comes out. Now you make this into a cage match. Now this kind of makes more sense. They come out for the cage match. They interfere a little bit. New Day comes out. It makes more sense. To me, this is just my pessimism with WWE, especially booking-wise. This feels like a means to an end. They used Cedric and Shelton in the Drew McIntyre storyline to basically have them banned from ringside, for lack of a better term, for their title match, where
This is banned from ringside.
you had Bobby Lashley finally beat Drew McIntyre so that he can no longer challenge for the title. To me, this feels like the same thing. If they are all drafted to fill in the blank, and they're drafted as the Hurt Business, then let's talk. Right now, this just feels like storyline.
I wanted to make a joke about this when I saw the ending of Raw, where it was the New Day and the Hurt Business in the main event picture. I thought about things to joke about, being like, did they just see Rodney King get beat? My other one was, is this the Malice at the Palace? But
that's funny.
On my birthday, by the way.
But when you think about it, it is pretty remarkable that the main event picture on WWE's flagship show is filled with African Kofi and African American talent.
It's weird. It is very weird.
And they're all big time talent. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin have been slighted, but when you think about Lashley and Big E and Kofi and Xavier Woods, those are guys that the WWE has leaned on for
Usos too for a little bit. I mean, especially tag team wise, and then you had main event Jey Uso's gimmick going around. So I mean, it's a lesser degree.
There's so many jokes that I can make, but really, seriously, it feels like, for lack of a better term, a new day. It feels like this is somewhere where the WWE has gone that I would have expected from another promotion.
Two Beer said it, and Two Beer, if you want to expand on it, by all means. I think this war, quote unquote, has kind of forced WWE to step their game up. Okay, Two Beer is a great example of it. Didn't watch Raw, heard that Big E won. Oh, how did he win? Let me watch. Oh, what's happening next week? Roman Reigns is invading in the bloodline, invading Raw. I'll watch next week. And he's watched the week after that, 3 weeks in a row. Two Beer, when was the last time you watched Raw 3 weeks in a row?
Oh, it's been probably 2 years or more. I've watched. It's probably been more than a year since I just watched Raw.
I feel like we shouldn't say this on air because people lean on you, Two Beer, for your expertise on professional wrestling.
No, he's got New Japan. Let him hold that down. AEW, he's that too.
Speaking of African American wrestlers, I mean, Keith Lee came back with the nickname Keith Bearcat Lee, and Bearcat James?
Oh, shit.
I gotta admit, I had never heard of this guy. And I feel like I know a lot. And I know people will probably hit me up on Twitter, but he was the first African-American wrestling champion back in the territory days. I cannot remember his last name. I probably should have figured it out.
I said it on Monday because somebody was like, do you know who this guy is? And I was like, yeah, this is fill in the blank.
But apparently Keith Lee grabbing that Bearcat name means that he can start squashing dudes because he had lost a bunch, but now he's got the power of the African-American wrestler within him, and now he's squashing dudes.
Bearcat Right. Yeah.
Bearcat Right.
Yes.
Okay. So had you ever heard of this guy?
There was a podcast, and I'm not going to name the name of the podcast, that did a
They
top
called him
10.
the N-word?
If they did, I'm not listening to it anymore. Yeah, right.
Name it.
You don't be better than that. I'd throw them motherfuckers
Was it
underneath
Good
the
Cop,
bus.
Bad Cop? Were they saying the N-word? Cut it out, guys.
Yeah, I was say, come on,
Cut
man.
it out with the racism, guys.
It was actually View from the Top Row.
I'm just kidding. Good Cop, Bad Cop. They're great.
Great guys, yeah. View from the Top Row, great guys. I want to get back on both shows here in a little bit. This podcast did, well, not podcast, but this show did a top 10 all-time African-American wrestlers of all time. And that's how I ended up hearing about Bearcat Wright. So when Keith Lee comes out as Keith Bearcat Lee, I was like, okay, am I tripping? Is this me? So I was like, okay, let me just see this unfold for a little bit. And obviously he comes out, and I can't even remember who the fuck he squashed. It was just, I hate the fact that they do things like this, and then, on the exclusive backstage interview, they don't delve into it. They don't go into it. You have a Keith Lee interview where you could have easily asked him, what's the significance of Bearcat? And then we can go into it, blah, blah, blah. And they don't do anything with it. WWE does a great, production is their thing. Okay, if they want to hype a match up, they can hype a match up to the point where you could be literally salivating. I remember this joker over here, WrestleMania, when we were at Jinder Mahal's house, when the Daniel Bryan match came up, he was like, shh, he's hitting everybody, shut the fuck up. Daniel Bryan's getting ready to come on. He was that hyped up about that match. So if they wanted to put the time and investment into it, they could. They just don't do it.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
What match?
It was 2 years ago. We were at Tenders. It was Daniel Bryan versus somebody. It was a fairly big deal. I almost want to say it was Shane or some shit. I don't even really remember. And you were really into that shit.
I do remember his reaction. I was there at that show. That was a Joey.
Okay.
I like wrestling.
But that's kind of my point, okay?
They're not interested in telling stories at all.
Some they are. Some I really
No.
The Roman Reigns, they are totally invested to it, and I think that takes a lot.
Name another one. All right.
What's good?
That's
what I'm saying.
Well,
Roman Reigns is the best.
Okay.
But then like the Big E storyline is going to be one of the next ones up. Becky Lynch is going to be the next one.
What storyline?
What's next? Drew McIntyre.
Okay. Here's what I was gonna say. Thank you for teeing me up like that.
You're welcome.
Because just having Drew McIntyre come out with a sword and point it at Big E or whatever the fuck he did, that's not a story.
Oh, that is a story.
No.
Yeah, that is. Who do you think is next?
That's not a story, though. Like, that's not telling a
It's
story.
chapter 1. Damn.
Well, no, then
Or chapter 3, whatever.
are you fucking serious?
I'm dead ass serious. He just beat Lashley. Lashley's chapter is over.
But why does Drew McIntyre come down?
Because he now has a chance to go back and win the title. He lost to Lashley because Lashley beat him. That is the story. It's the Big E story. It ain't the Drew McIntyre story. Drew McIntyre is not the WWE champion at this point. It's the Big E story.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Take 2 or 3. Damn, I'm surprised you ain't picked up on that. That was the whole reason that he came out at the end.
I'm surprised you're defending WWE in this when really all they ever do, all they ever do when it comes to title defenses is just have some guy's music come down and then they come down and then they stare at each other and you're like, that's a story. Oh, what are they going to do? They're going to stare at the WrestleMania. They're going to stare at the WrestleMania sign.
Oh,
that's a story.
Please,
that's not a story, motherfucker.
It is part of the Big E story. He just beat Lashley for the title.
But
No.
I don't care about the Big E story. What's the story for us as the viewer to want to see Big E and Drew fight?
Drew is the guy that basically is the guy that's been on Raw for the last year or so, running this ship until Lashley came around. Now Big E is the guy on the top. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's face versus face. It's somebody that you can use to put Big E over.
Not a story. I'm talking about kayfabe. What's the story between...
Drew wants his title back, period.
Okay, so him coming out and just pointing a sword at Big E, that's not a story.
That is a part of the story. It starts the storyline.
I'll tell you what. If Drew comes out and cuts a promo that talks about why he wants that belt.
Did you watch Raw Talk afterwards? Maybe he did it on there.
How much fucking time do you think I have in the fucking week?
You're asking questions. I'm asking a question back.
No, I didn't watch Raw Talk.
So then maybe he did it then and we don't know about it. Maybe he did it then and we don't know about it.
Guess what? He didn't.
Okay, so you don't know that because
I do.
you don't. No, you don't. You just
you
said
would've
it.
watched Raw Talk.
You just said it.
You would've watched it.
You would, if you knew it, you'd have said, Jason, I watched it. Shut the fuck up.
Of course I didn't watch it.
So you don't know any more than I do. So in this case, let's see this shit play itself out and go on Monday. And if he throws down his fucking sword and he says he wants Big E, there's your fucking storyline, you impatient bastard. God damn.
That's an insane
They gave it to you right then, and you was like, well, what does this mean? What's this point of the story mean? I don't understand what the problem is. Damn, dog. Do they got to draw it up for you? Shit, Drew McIntyre is going to be on the title chase here in a little bit. And that was the pointing of the sword.
Hey, dude, they do have to draw it up for
Clearly. Stevie Wonder could have bumped you and be like, hey, man, what's going on over here? Maybe Drew McIntyre's going after the title.
Hey, the onus is on them to tell me the story.
Jesus Christ.
No, shut up. The onus is not on me to figure out the story. The onus is on them to tell the story.
Good thing, because you couldn't figure this one out? Man, that was a real hard story to figure that shit out. Zack, you saw this shit. You saw this shit.
I am flabbergasted.
Could you not agree that Drew McIntyre is probably going to be the next contender for Big E?
Of course he is.
Then what's the fucking problem?
What's the story?
Jeez.
Wrestling used to have stories.
It's going after the title, motherfucker. That's the story. It's Daniel Bryanson all over again.
You can filibuster all you want, motherfucker.
I ain't got filibuster. I'm telling the truth.
Let's let Zack tell it. Go ahead, Zach.
Putting the buster in filibuster. Damn.
Filibuster.
But
Fuck both you motherfuckers. Don't make me mad. I'm right.
You're speaking two different languages. Like, you're not even having the same conversation. That is so lazy storytelling, right? Like, taking a medium stance here. It's lazy storytelling.
As a guy
like,
who's gone to marriage counseling, Zach's pretty good at this.
You have to.
That's why I'm single. Shit.
You have to, like, pretty much, like, pick up on implications and try to decode and create some kind of story and work mental gymnastics just to, like, derive entertainment out of anything besides the action in the ring with WWE. They give you a lot of buzzwords. They give you a lot of stuff about championships. I mean, the only thing they ever run down is, like, tail of the tape, and every promo, like, they'll have is like, oh, I'm a Grand Slam champion, and this champion, that. That's, like, the only thing that they have props, you know, and they work around those props, but they don't tell you interesting stories about characters that develop, because the characters are so malleable and they flip on the, you know, turn on a dime. They don't have any values, you know, and of course there's exceptions to this, but in general, they can just change at the whim of one man. And it's not fun, interesting, complex storytelling.
Did you
It
hear
doesn't
that?
have like an actual narrative.
He agreed with me. Did you hear that? He took my side.
Look.
Did you hear that?
Did
He took my side.
Wait. Did I say it was interesting? Did I say it was, you know, groundbreaking? I said this was a part of the Big E story because it basically says that Drew McIntyre is the next one up on the block.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Pretty fucking simple.
That's the only story.
What more do you need? Right now, that's all you need to know. Let them build that story from that point. When there's going to be friction, then you're going to maybe see Drew McIntyre flip heel. We don't know. We're going to have to let them tell this part of the story versus just saying, okay, there's no story.
At the risk of sounding like an AEW mark, AEW doesn't have a problem telling stories like that.
They do it differently, Bill, and we know this. Let's not make this fucking any harder than what you're making it.
You say differently, I say better.
Whatever, fine, better, different. AEW does things better than WWE. WWE does things better than AEW. It doesn't change the fact. Wow.
Not really.
It doesn't change the fact that this was very straightforward, and the fact that you didn't like how they did it doesn't change the fact that it was straightforward, and this is a chapter in the Big E reign of his championship.
Listen, okay. I'm going to ask you one question, then we can be done with this, because I don't want to talk anymore about Raw unless there's something else that Zach wants to talk about. Oh, the burning hammer that AJ did was badass, by the way. It was good to see him do
it looked like it hurt.
Yeah, it was awesome. How many times have we watched a Raw after a pay-per-view where some dude just walks out at the end, and that's the contender? That's the number one contender. It doesn't matter how many times he's won or lost, because you know what? Drew McIntyre's lost a couple times in a row. It doesn't matter how many times he's won or lost. He just comes down, he points his sword, and now it's Big E versus Drew McIntyre. No matter how many times Drew McIntyre has won, it just does not matter. That's not a story. There's the
other version, which is the same thing, where one guy comes out, gets interrupted by another guy, who gets interrupted by another guy, who gets interrupted by another guy, and then they have a four-way to determine the number one contender. Like, it's the same thing, just different variations, and they flip-flop between them.
It's not telling the story.
Yeah, it's not a story.
I'm all for Big E.
It's a thing.
I would love for Big E to face Drew McIntyre if they had some sort of beef. You have to tell some kind of story.
It's fucking boxing. It's fucking MMA. You got the title that I want. That's beef enough.
Oh, yeah.
And now, if you want to go into it more, so be it.
Yeah, but if you got the title that I want, I should have won the last 3 matches that I've had. So AEW does it better than WWE. There's no argument here, Jason.
Whatever. Fine.
Let's get to that 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
Two beer. What's the 2 count?
2 count is
Jason just left. There goes his car. He's leaving.
Shit.
He's pissed off.
I was getting ready to say, shit, this whole podcast, yeah, because this computer be coming with. Y'all ain't gonna talk shit on me for the next hour and a half, and just me sitting up here driving back to the city talking about fuck these motherfuckers. They can come talk about me. I'm gonna let them keep my computer so you can talk shit on me for the next hour and a half. Kiss my ass. Nope. Podcast over.
Taking my ball and going home.
Motherfuckers.
Oh, shit. So, yeah, we had second half of the Arthur Ashe show on Friday. So we had AEW Rampage special 2-hour edition. Opened up with CM Punk's first TV match in 7 years versus Will Hobbs. Pretty good match. Again, I see a lot of people on Twitter acting like Hobbs should have beat CM Punk, which is just a baffling take. Hobbs has a lot of potential. He's going to be, he's going to be a guy. He's going to be a player. He's still young. He's got a lot to work on. He's still pretty green. But, CM Punk's whole thing was to get him over here. And if he were to beat CM Punk, I mean, that pretty much, puts him at the top. Dude ain't ready for the top. He's ready to wrestle with top guys, but he's just not ready for the top. I thought this was totally fine for what it was. Gets him, wrestling a legend, gets him some high profile, I'm sure Punk chose him, right? Punk's going to choose his first opponent. He's going to choose his first pay-per-view match. He's going to choose his first TV match. And I think, that's quite a rub. It's not like we've talked about it before. It's not the way WWE does it, where just being in the ring is the rub. And it'll make him look good. They make Hobbs look good, and then he lost. It's fine. He's young. He's in there with a veteran. He lost.
Hobbs looked spectacular in a loss. CM Punk looked great in a win. The only thing was that there was that one botch, the Hurricane Rana that they went for that didn't go so well. But
that looked like it. Hobbs was not. I didn't think Hobbs was hurt, but I was just like, okay, let's give him a minute.
Hobbs shouldn't be winning this match. I thought this match went as well as it could have gone. It probably could have gone about 3 minutes shorter.
I think a lot of this with Powerhouse Hobbs and Lee Johnson, black wrestlers, or in other cases where you have Jungle Boy. We'll talk about him in a little bit. I think it's more along the lines of AEW was meant to be the start of for indie guys, non-WWE guys, and then slowly but surely AEW signed this former WWE guy, that former WWE guy. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that they're not supposed to. Fuck yeah, you're supposed to. When Daniel Bryan comes up to be signed, you snatch him up. When Adam Cole comes up to be signed, you snatch him up. That's not even an issue. I think the biggest problem is where does this youth fit in when you're bringing in these high profile guys? And I think a lot of those friction basically boils down to, yeah, we want the youth to have this moment, but you can't have Powerhouse Hobbs go over CM Punk. I mean, I get it. I want black wrestlers to excel as well, but even in this scenario, you just can't do it. This was the best possible scenario for Powerhouse Hobbs to be in this match, to look as good as possible, but you just can't. I hate when people say you can just put somebody up at the main event and just be done with it. You're going to sit up here and tell me you're going to give a mic to Powerhouse Hobbs to face off against Kenny Omega and you're going to make that work? No, you're not going to do that. You're setting them up to fail. The match itself would not be as good if you put Powerhouse Hobbs in instead of Punk or Danielson or whoever the case may be. So I think ultimately that's where the problem is that we're trying to figure out where the youth is going to fit in, where you're bringing in the high-profile talent.
It's like, you think that Hobbs should be in the main event. I'm going to give you a job waiting tables. I'm going to give you a 10-table section on a Friday night, and you never waited tables before.
Right.
See how you do.
Yeah.
Hey, you ain't ready for the main event.
I have nightmares about that.
Dude,
Dude, I do too. I have big severe anxiety dreams.
My server
and it's
nightmare
usually waiting
is
tables.
very similar to that, but I'm one of like maybe 2 or 3 people there. So I have a huge station.
The iced tea is never brewed.
Something goes
Every time I
left.
have a dream like this, it's like, oh, everybody wants iced tea. And it's like, oh, nobody brewed the iced tea?
Yeah, or
Oh, I just got 2 more tables.
yeah, no ice or some stupid
Ah,
shit. It's
God.
the little shit that it fucking.
Mine's always like I'm always like putting in like orders to the point of sale, and like as soon as I get to like the last like bit of it, I screw it up and I have to restart the whole thing over and over.
That sounds terrible, too. I'm feeling
pretty
anxious
bad.
right now.
Yeah.
You
All right,
see
so
me
moving
grab
on,
my pen. I'm like, ugh.
talking about something a little more fun than server anxiety nightmares. Super Click, Young Bucks and Adam Cole defeat Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. This was a really fun match. Definitely, getting the heat on the heels by having them go over these guys. But this is not the last time they're going to meet. We're actually going to see this again this coming. We're going to see variations of this, coming up, these guys. So we did a BTE trigger, and then Adam Cole came in with the boom, which I think is what they're calling his shot or his shining wizard.
Yeah, the last shot or whatever.
The last shot called the boom now. And my God, I've been bumping that Adam Cole theme music.
Supposedly it's number 1 on
yeah, it's number
iTunes
1
or
in the
whatever.
metal charts on iTunes.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's so fun.
I mean,
this
I
is-
listen to it every now and then on Spotify when it comes up on the random mix. Y'all motherfuckers are bumping that motherfucker to the fucking number 1 of the iTunes music charts. That's fucking crazy talk.
I mean, this was an insanely entertaining match that
Trios titles. It is time.
it is. I completely agree.
It's time.
Yeah, they have enough guys to do it. What'd you think about Jericho and Hager versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, a.k.a. the Best Men? Or now they're called America's Top Team.
Whatever. The match was okay. I mean, the ending was where, the actual angle was where, America's top 10 team or top team basically come in and just dismantle Jericho and Hager or whatever. Masvidal with the high knee is the highlight of the whole thing. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. I like the angle. I still like Dan Lambert. I think he does an amazing job. I think he's a great old school heel. I just don't know where this angle is going. Even after Wednesday on Dynamite, it was still, cheap heel heat, but I don't even think they need it at this point. I think, whomping Jericho like that's heat enough. They could have took Wednesday night off and not had a problem with it. But, the match was okay. I think the ending of the match, post-match, was where the angle was at.
What you think about it, Zach?
Yeah, that's where the story was. Yeah, the match was totally fine. But I tell you what, Jorge Masvidal came off like a superstar. That guy's not like the best fighter. I like dabble in UFC, kind of follow that stuff. I mean, he's done a couple like fantastic knockouts and stuff. But I mean, he's not the best fighter, but he comes off like such a superstar. Like just the way he dressed. He came out later than the other guys.
Strolled
Paige
on
Van
in
Zandt
like he was
stood
the
out.
champ.
Yeah, Paige Van Zandt, she, stood out because A, she's hot, and B, she's the only female,
Right.
and, she got the punches in on Jericho. But I don't know where it's going either, but, I mean, if you're going to get some crossover appeal and get some more mainstream, because UFC is more mainstream than professional wrestling, if you're going to get some more mainstream fans through this, I think Jericho's the guy to work with, and Jake Hager makes sense because he is an MMA fighter.
Yeah, that was the connection. Outside of that, that kind of is what it is.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Jericho needs to take some time off. They don't need him anymore. They definitely needed him at the beginning of AEW. He was like a lot of people's gateway into AEW because people love him and he's a huge star. But they have stars now for days.
For sure.
And they have Leo Rush coming in now. Like, They are.
I don't even know what the fuck he's gonna. What the fuck you gonna do with Leo Rush? I mean,
I
love it, but I mean, just damn.
I mean, that was basically a non sequitur. But my point is that
Leo Rush, who just watched The Big Short last week.
I know he really like he got into some finance stuff. I just think Jericho needs to take a break. I mean, the dude's tired. The dude's been working really hard. The dude drinks really hard. The dude is old. The dude needs to take 6 months to a year off, and when he comes back, it'll be massive. But
I think we're getting to that point.
He's not. He used to be a draw for me to watch the show, and he no longer is. Like, they have enough guys now.
Yeah, for sure.
He got all these guys over. He really did. All these guys are over now because of Jericho, and now he can.
So good.
And now he can go to Malibu for 6 months and just fucking chill out.
Without question.
I think he's probably there just because he really wants to be. He's probably just having so much fun.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, though, The Big Short
really
is actually a really good name for Leo Rush.
I didn't know Leo Rush, if that's the case. I didn't know that was,
It's just a movie, but it would be a good name for him because he's short.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It's a big deal.
No, Jericho, I wouldn't have a problem with Jericho, and it's kind of happening storyline-wise. He's starting to take a back seat. This would have been better if he'd have lost to MJF. Now you can kind of really justify him taking this back seat.
But he didn't lose to MJF. He beat him.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. If
he never should have beat him. Cornette came out and Cornette was all pissed off about it. I agree with Cornette.
No, MJF should have beat Jericho, and then that should have started this decline going off into the sunset.
Zach, did you just call Leo Rush? I mean, did you say his nickname should be The Big Short? Because if there's no wrestler out there with the nickname The Big Short, it should be Leo Rush, especially if he's going to go with this finance thing. Like, what a great nickname, The Big Short.
It'd be perfect.
It's almost
he
as
can
good
have that for free.
He's the modern day $1 million man for AEW. I swear to God.
It's almost as good as the Stone Pitbull.
Jesus. Dude, I'm still just 225 is going to be a pissed off moment.
We had Lucha Brothers and LAX versus the Butcher and the Blade and Private Party. This was a nonstop match. Also,
I like this match a lot.
So it's funny the way that the AEW set these two nights up, because Wednesday was definitely more consequential when it came to storylines and stuff like that. And Friday, if you were just sitting at home and you're 13 or 14 and you happen to turn on TNT.
Dad, I want to watch the baseball game.
And you
sit here and watch AEW Rampage.
And you watched all these motherfuckers jumping around on nonstop matches, no selling, no nothing.
Just getting after it.
Just getting after it. It was a really fun show. And I know that there are people that don't like matches like that. And I'm one of those people if it's in a consequential match. But if you're going to have Lucha Brothers and LAX versus Butcher and the Blade and Private Party,
you better let them niggas go.
Yeah, let them
roll that ball out.
Go.
Let them niggas go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just let them do the thing.
Okay.
They're really good at doing the thing. Just let them do the thing.
Yes.
And like you said,
and it was a cool match.
It was really fun to watch, entertaining. Yeah. And like you said, if this was a match where it had stakes on it, the loser of the fall, has to do this, or the winner of the fall is the number one contender to the titles. Okay, then yeah, let's get a little more serious. But this was just literally something to have the fans invested. When Santana Ortiz came out, that was a huge fucking pop.
And when you're live at that stuff, it gets you going.
Yeah. Especially if...
And they're in the fourth hour.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say. You've already...
Omega and Daniel.
Okay. You've seen Dynamite, so now you're going into Rampage. This was basically the third, 3.5 hours. So you need a little adrenaline bump. At that point, you might not have what you need in your pocket, but you brought out Santana Ortiz, and that just gave you that little bump.
Anna Jay loses to Penelope Ford. Thoughts on that, Jason?
It sets up what we saw on Wednesday. I really would wish that AEW, and this is one of my biggest problems with AEW, is the women's division. It's always one match. It's always the same time. Granted, you're now starting to bring, other women in. Sheeta's coming off of the the side of the milk carton for the first time in a
She's
hot
fighting
minute.
Serena Deeb next
Okay.
week.
It's still the same thing. It's not really important. It feels like.
Thoughts on this, Zach?
I mean, I don't have any super strong feelings about it. I think that AEW just has a problem with having so much talent in general that it's hard to find TV time. And when you look at the quality of, I mean, when you just look at the quality of the matchups that they can make, and just finding time for everyone. They're doing this like 4-hour week, as a special week and stuff. I mean, could they do more? Yeah. Would it be more interesting than having, than some of the men's matches that we see? I just want to see interesting wrestling.
Okay.
I'm all for equality and everything. I don't need equality of time. I don't need equality of content. I mean, if you just treat them, equally and have like a same level of importance to the matches, there are more men than there are women. A lot of times the men are just better or more experienced wrestlers, at least, depending on the roster, than the women.
Jason.
It's just tough.
Zach has 2 daughters. Does it surprise you to hear him expose himself as misogynist like this? Go ahead.
I wasn't even going to go there, but damn. I'll just say this. For AEW, I get what you're saying, and I'm not asking them to do an all-women's show or anything like that. For those who want to do an all-women's show, that's great. NWA is doing it. Impact, I'm pretty sure, is getting ready to do one. That's great. I'm just saying, can we get 2 women's matches on Dynamite? Can we get, if we're going to do the woman match on Dynamite, can we get it from that like 8:15, 8:30 slot on Central Standard Time? I mean, it's almost to the point where the women's match is getting ready to come up. And that's all I'm saying.
It's always been that way.
Can one of them
okay,
be
but then why does it have to be that way, though? If you want to, yeah, man. I'm all about bra and panties. Knock yourself out.
commentated by Jerry Lawler?
Yes, of course. Puppies all the way. Pfft.
It's always been that way, though.
But it shouldn't have to be that way, Bill. When you are starting to really build this talent up, and on the women's side, if we have this forbidden door open, that door should open for the women and the men. You can bring in more talent. Thunder Rosa shouldn't be the only talent that you should be bringing in from the outside. There's other women that you could bring in. They did Camille for a hot second, Serena Deeb for a hot second. Now she's back. If it's I won't necessarily say it's all Joshi, but a lot of their outside.
It is a business, though. Like,
I get that, Bill, but
they have to make their money. Like, they have so much talent.
I get it.
And Britt Baker's...
And women only make 80 cents on the dollar to what men make. So...
I get it.
I think it should be more. I think they should make 85 cents on the dollar.
Y'all niggas. I'm just saying.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
A little more.
I'm just kidding. Blood Girl Raven, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, it'd be different if we were live. I could probably shank you on live at the air and, get some retribution for it, but we can't.
And then for the main event, we had Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer and Suzuki. Personally, I hope Lance Archer is still alive.
We ain't seen him since.
I know, like
it was a Homicide.
Homicide was there. Homicide's an old TNA guy that I really don't. I remember him not being able to climb up to the top of the cage in one match, in an X Division match, I think it was called. But
probably sounds about right.
Homicide's not my dude. I thought this match was really fun. It still didn't do what I wanted it to do. I guess I wanted it to be like a New Japan match, and it was not. I love Eddie Kingston. In fact, I love all 4 guys in this match. This match just...
It was better than the singles match, but it didn't meet my expectations for the match that I was looking for. Rooting interest aside, what I think should happen aside, it was kind of entertaining. It felt sports entertainment-ish to certain degrees, but with no rules out there, it's going to be that way. Homicide was was okay as a surprise. I mean, if you don't know who he is, then you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Excalibur is, putting him over, but I don't necessarily think that does enough. At the end of the day, two things. Number one, we got Suzuki's entrance in, so that was always checked. So now, the Minoru Suzuki tragedy can end. And number two, I don't think this was meant to be anything for storyline purposes. Like Bill just said, this Rampage was more meant to be entertainment than anything else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, Homicide was a born in New York kind of guy, so I mean, it's just playing for the crowd. So yeah, just a fun match to end the show, and like you said, not really furthering any storylines. Also, just kind of further cementing just how over Eddie Kingston is. I think the most scared I was for anything in this was John Moxley's shoulders. He had his hands cuffed for like half the match.
Yeah,
like Lance Archer just picked him up for a body slam. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, they were not taking it easy on John Moxley.
I'm really not sure that there's a baby face. I know we say it every week, but I'm not sure there's a baby face that's more over than Eddie Kingston. I think Eddie Kingston would get cheered against CM Punk. I really do. With the AEW crowd.
That's pretty. I
was getting ready to say, we're getting ready to talk about Dynamite, and with cheers and boos, I'm not going to root against that anymore because.
Did you say you agree with that, Zach?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that Eddie Kingston.
I can't say I would disagree with that because now Cody is.
He needs a title run. Maybe not now. I hope he stays healthy.
Who would get cheered versus him and Orange Cassidy? I'd be real interested.
Orange Cassidy versus who?
Eddie Kingston.
Kingston.
I'd say he's the only other. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, I think it'd be Kingston.
I don't know.
No, nobody's going against Kingston. Everybody loves Kingston.
Everybody loves Orange Cassidy too.
No, that's not true. There are diehards out there that do not like.
Not diehard wrestling fans. I'm talking about diehard AEW fans.
Oh, I think they would if it was him versus Eddie Kingston.
Diehard AEW fans. They're going to take Kingston over Orange Cassidy.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I could be wrong. I'd love to see it. God, that's a fun match to think about.
I said it last week where I thought Cody was being booed because of who he was facing, and then obviously this week, kind of previewing forward.
Well, let's get to AEW Dynamite. Yeah. It opened up with Adam Cole Bebe versus Jungle Boy in what was a match where they didn't hold a lot back. I thought they would hold some more back, like if this was going to be a match a couple years in the future. They didn't hold a lot back.
Nope.
I think they did hold some back. I mean, I think they would go much more on a pay-per-view.
I couldn't believe Jungle Boy kicked out of the Sunset Flip thing.
I thought it was done deal. I picked up my phone and was getting ready to start tweeting.
2.99.
I got to be honest. I didn't like it. I didn't like him kicking out of it. No, I love the match. I didn't like him kicking out of that. Kicking out,
Has Adam Cole finished people with that? I've never seen him. It's always the last shot.
Oh, yeah. No, he's finished people with that.
It's happened before. I just don't I think I'm with Two Beer on this one. The last shot, the boom, whatever you want to call it, the exposed knee to the back of the head, that's really the finisher. What we've seen...
you might be right.
What we've seen him do the Panama Sunrise and finish people off. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that you're off base on this.
No, I'll defer.
I was with you on that.
I think that you are right.
I thought it was over, and when he kicked out, I was like, what's this? So, I mean, ultimately, subconsciously, I was thinking the same thing.
Extremely fun match, though.
No, it's going to be a part 2 because the fuckery was in play when he mule kicked Jungle Boy in the junk, and that's how the whole finish happened.
They got dirty.
No, kudos to Adam Cole, but
And then the Elite come out, and then Bryan Danielson comes out and calls down his homeboys. I thought that this was... When I thought it was going to be Bryan Danielson versus one of the Jacksons in the singles match right there on Dynamite, I got real psyched up. And then where he's like, well, I'm coming down with my boys. And I was like, it's just going to be a schmaz. We are getting Nick Jackson versus Daniel Bryanson.
Of the two
on
bucks,
Rampage.
This is the buck that I would want to see in a one-on-one match.
Which one is it?
Totally.
Oh, motherfucker, you need to answer that question.
You don't even have to answer it.
I could tell these motherfuckers apart.
What'd you think, Zach?
I didn't. Oh, I mean, the segment was fine. I really want to see the match. Heard they went 17 minutes, so that's pretty cool. Get some time.
Oh shit! Don't tell me who wins.
That's the one.
I forgot, but I did hear they went 17 minutes. Yeah.
That's the one thing about Rampage that I don't like. It's a taped show, which I get. And NXT was taped for, even in the Full Sail days when, we marveled over it. So I just don't like the fact that it's taped and the spoilers can get out. That's just me.
Lucha Brothers were in a backstage segment with Andrade where Andrade was saying, why don't you put those AAA tag team belts up, and never named his tag team partner.
Two Beer, you had an interesting take on this one.
So he personally, this is not like a storyline thing.
I don't know what this is.
This is not something that is going to happen, but he personally wants for him and Danielson to go to Mexico to wrestle for those belts in AAA. And Danielson he was wanting to wrestle in CMLL when he was in WWE. CMLL is dead right now. I mean, they're just
Well, I'm sure Danielson
terrible.
would do it just because Andrade wants it.
He went to wrestle Mexico, and I mean, it would be awesome. So I think that's kind of what they were getting at. I mean, that's just something I read in the Observer, was that Andrade was kind of trying to angle for that. So
Evan Bourne.
Well, hang on. If it's not Danielson, who do you think would be Andrade's partner?
Chavo.
Vicky Guerrero.
You motherfuckers say shit. God damn, I try to answer a fucking serious question for 30 seconds. You throw out these two motherfucking names.
I'm all like, excuse me.
Speaking of shitty tag teams, we had Dante Martin and Evan Bourne.
Wow.
No, I like him. I actually do.
No, it's Matt Sydal.
Matt Sydal. I know.
Jesus Christ.
You know who I meant.
I know. They both Mizzou guys.
I like them together. Dante Martin is a high flyer to the nth degree. He really is. And he's fun to watch. They fought Cody and Lee Johnson. Arn Anderson cut an insane promo.
What the fuck was that?
On Cody afterwards. When Zack put it up on Friends of BFR on Facebook, I did not know what he was talking about. I just liked it because it was an I think you should leave gif. But when I watched it today, holding my newborn daughter, I know I used to call her Edna Guerrero, but that's not her name anymore. It's Edna May, baby. But we were watching it. We were watching it together, and when Arn Anderson was talking about blowing dudes' brains out,
I'm like, whoa!
You could even see Cody. I would love to hear Cody's inner thoughts on that, because Cody looked like he was like, okay, calm down.
We're just fucking around, right?
I probably watched it 6 times. I watched Arn 2 of them and Cody 4 of them.
I watched Brandy in the background, and Brandy was kind of funny with her facial expressions too. This was so from.
She's the one who's got to take all the PR from it.
Right.
It was so from right field, but ultimately, it kind of made sense. Arn was the guy that ultimately made this whole thing make sense.
Yeah, I don't know about saying let's blast dudes in their heads, though.
Look, there's motherfuckers out there going to do that shit. Okay, I'm not sitting there saying that, that's what you do.
Oh, you're apologizing for the murderers? Unbelievable.
Whatever, motherfucker.
I thought it was kind of funny that Bill, I kind of raised my eyebrows on Raw whenever Bill Goldberg's like, if I'm lucky, I will kill you.
Okay,
no, he said, actually, he said, if you're lucky, I'll kill you, which is quite a bit more badass.
Yeah, and I was
okay.
What's
Sure not more badass?
And then Arn just comes out.
Thank you.
About pulling a Glock and putting it to a dude's head and blowing his brains out.
That was a weird promo.
It was a weird promo, but ultimately it comes back to what I said last week. Something was amiss between Arn and Cody. Now the fracture is happening.
He said, "Hey Cody, what's the difference between me and you? I go into the voting booth and I vote for Trump. You go in the voting booth and you vote for Biden.
You ain't shit. You ain't shit.
All right, we had a couple of vignettes that we can skip by. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, Tully and FTR. Dan Lambert and the top team come out. Here's what I really want to ask you about. We have a lot of stuff to go, and we've already been going for like an hour and a half. But
that's your fault.
What's
it be like that?
No, what's his face? Ethan Page said he had the tightest tits in the game. What do you think about that?
I think he completely owned those what chants. Like, I've never heard anybody own what chants before.
That's
like,
the one thing.
He shut him down.
Yes, that's the one thing.
I thought that it was spectacular.
Because the what chant, for whatever reason, throws people off, whether it's male, female, black, white, purple, whatever. The what chant throws people off. Ethan Page never fucking blinked, and that's amazing.
He's a star.
He is, and I don't want to knock either Ethan Page or Scorpio Sky. I like them as a team. I would love them as singles guys. That's just me.
I mean, I'll take them as a team. I'll take Seidel and Dante Martin as a team for a while too. The tag team, I would love to see if they
There's
did
plenty of tag teams.
If they did 2 weeks of AEW Dynamite though, that was just a tag team tournament, I'd be into it.
Yeah, there's plenty of tag teams.
It's funny, World Tag League is my least favorite New Japan tournament, and it would probably be my most favorite AEW tournament.
Exactly.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Sheeta versus Serena Deeb. There was a vignette. Conti versus Ford. I don't remember who won.
Oh yeah, we haven't even brought it up, but like this was the Brody Lee John Huber tribute show from Rochester, New York.
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
I mean, just the show. The whole show is.
No,
it didn't feel like a tribute show.
No. I did. I skipped past it.
Okay.
I skipped past the 10-man or the 16-man.
16. Get it right.
But it was super cool.
I mean, that's not a real. That's not a real tribute to John Huber. If you're gonna have an 8-on-8 match, I mean, it's kind of sullying.
The whole
his
show
name.
was a tribute. It was just that it happened to have like a full Dark Order thing, and it was a fun story because there's been that dissension. Evil Uno Stu Grayson walk off. -1 throws the papers at him, tells him to get in the ring. So great. But
Mom came out.
Like, yeah, and selling a special T-shirt. 100% of the proceeds go to this new John Huber Foundation. I loved this. I loved that he was forefront and center through everything that they did from the beginning of the show. They always say it's Wednesday. You know what that means. And that's always, something that they've done since John's passed. And
right, which is cool.
But
yes.
Yeah, and they really made him. They talked about him and referenced him constantly. And, keeping his memory alive. And, dude, like, Excalibur can't even call the action. Like, he's choked up so much. I just thought, it was not as fantastic as the original show right after he
what
died.
Could be.
Yeah, but what could be, exactly, because that was one of the best wrestling television shows I've ever seen in my life. If you, told me, what's the best, TV show you ever saw, just wrestling, on, TV, it would probably be that one. Because it was just so impactful and it was so great. And it's just so different than something you normally see. And I thought they did a fantastic job of, keeping him, and his memory alive. I thought it was super cool.
Which guy, Jason?
And then real quick,
good.
It was the perfect way, it was built around the TNT title because that's their storyline, that he was the greatest TNT champion in history. And they built up to a main event.
I wasn't sure what the fuck we were going to get into, to be perfectly honest. I didn't even know this match was going to happen until I was watching the show last night. And for me, anything more than 6 people in the ring is probably too much. When I heard it was 16 people, I'm like, Jesus Christ. No, I ain't going to heat up just on this one. But it felt
that's
like
not even a hot take. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's just a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. And that's kind of where my another problem with AEW is where literally this one storyline, you packed in 16 people, where ultimately this is going to boil down to hair versus hair, Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans. God bless that dude. He's getting ready to get his hair cut. I just don't think it should have took 16 people to get to that. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, this is really about Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. You don't need all 16. It's Rochester. It's Brody Lee's hometown. You bring out the Dark Order. I get it. You don't have to have the entire Dark Order out there for one match. You could have broke this up into 2 or 3 segments to where, somebody could have came out with the ladies. You could have had a 6-man match and then have this as an 8-man tag. I don't know, but it just seemed like a lot of motherfuckers in the ring. Great match. It was a lot.
Great.
It was entertaining. Okay, better choice of words.
We had MJF come out and cut a promo about being one of the founding young people,
the pillars
of AEW, the pillars. And then
but he didn't lie. The guys that he named are the guys that I expect to be the 4 guys moving forward.
All right. So Darby Allin comes out. So after MJF skips him over, he says Jungle Boy, then he says
Sammy Guevara.
He's like, I beat them both. And then he goes, Darby Allin. Oh, we'll go past Darby Allin. And then there's me, MJF. Darby Allin comes out, and I mean, just full of charisma. You might as well just be beaming off of him, like he's wearing, black.
The sarcasm just doesn't fail to miss.
MJF says, okay, Darby, I dig the whole school shooter mime on a skateboard deal, which could have been the hardest I've ever laughed.
It was really good.
At a wrestling line in a long time.
It was really good.
Now, listen.
It was great.
MJF is towing a line in 2021. He went into Brian Pillman Jr. really fucking hard.
Real hard. I had a problem with their matches because
in talking to Darby,
Pillman should have came out and just kind of went after him, and it was not that like that.
Yeah, but talking to Darby Allin, whether it's true or not, if Darby Allin is straight edge because he died or because his uncle died in a car accident, and MJF says,
and he puts that out there, I'm like, ugh.
And MJF says the wrong man died.
I'm like, ooh, okay. You ain't gonna punch this man. You ain't gonna punch this man. You are not gonna punch. I want to punch this man.
I think we're into like sublime stuff. Like now we're talking. Like
MJ, this motherfucker.
Yeah, but I'm starting to like MJF more and more every week.
This motherfucker's just coming around. We have been talking about MJF.
Yeah, but you guys were wrong about it though.
Two beer. Get this one.
It's like lots of people watch The Sopranos, but nobody watches The Sopranos for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
What's the right reason to watch The Sopranos?
Let me count the ways. I mean,
okay,
it'd be another 3-hour podcast.
Okay, so in this scenario, why are you now just coming around to MJF? I guess there's the better question.
Because he is getting more ridiculous by the day. Like, he is getting sillier. Like, Steven Richards' right to censor sillier by the day.
Two Beer, do you think he's any more silly than he's been before in the past? I think this is pretty much par for the course.
I thought that he was pretty much consistently like dialed to 11, but like I feel like in the past month or two he's like turned it up to like 13. Like this dude went out there and threatened to go to WWE and Tony Khan.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Now.
Thank you. He's like, he's my first con. He's my favorite con in the wrestling business. He's 1 out of 2.
Uh-oh. I was like,
he goes, I have Bruce Pritchard's number on speed dial.
I'm like, uh-oh.
And did you hear what CM Punk said after that?
Everybody's got Bruce Pritchard's number on speed dial. You ain't nothing new. I was like, man, this shit's crazy, dog. And okay, that's why I love AEW in this scenario is that they are not afraid to acknowledge anybody.
Why would they be? They're winning.
Well, no, it's not even that.
WWE is the only weird one.
Okay, and we had this kind of argument a while back, and I said this, and Bill was like, if you're AEW, you should never acknowledge WWE. You should never acknowledge WWE. I'm like, man, fuck that. To me, this is like old school, we talking about your mama's jokes. There's nothing that shouldn't be out of play when we're talking about your mama's jokes, your daddy's jokes, whatever the case may be. This is kind of, to me, the same thing. You should acknowledge the fact that WWE is out there. And when Christian ran down, Adam Cole a couple weeks ago was talking about you was just on developmental a couple weeks ago, that was an amazing fucking line. I mean, I laughed out loud because that shit was so fucking funny. The fact that MJF is bringing up, Nick Khan and Bruce Pritchard, that's the shit I want to hear, because not only is funny, it connects the dots and it makes everything all relevant.
And it's real. It's a real.
Right.
Like, like WWE lives out on this weird, bizarro island where, like, nothing is actually real. Even whenever they're in somebody's, like, hometown, they won't reference it, but they'll beat them.
Right.
Or, like, even if somebody played a professional sport, they won't acknowledge it unless it's like Pat McAfee, where you have to acknowledge it because he's so popular. Like, they'll just say,
yeah, he's got his own show
football,
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that,
they're the only thing that matters. Like, they live in their own bubble. It's not real life, whereas AEW lives in the real.
All right, and last up, we had Miro versus Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Zach, what'd you think of the match? Sammy Guevara goes over.
Pretty much perfect. How do you end a tribute show to a dead man who was beloved by everyone he met, and lauded as the greatest TNT championship in AEW history, but by changing the title to a babyface and, getting him over? Miro's a made man at this point. He could keep squashing dudes as the TNT championship, or as the TNT champion, or he can transition that belt to somebody who needs a big win, make a really great moment, and keep squashing dudes without the TNT championship, and kind of move his way to like a main event level, because he is that guy. And I love this match. I mean, the way that they laid it out, I kind of figured that Sammy was going over. A, you want to send the crowd home happy. B, like, Miro was just destroying him at the beginning. But at the same time, Miro is like totally like Brock Lesnar when he wrestles these small dudes. He looks great destroying them and just demolishing them. But when they mount a comeback and mount offense, like, he bumps like crazy. Like, he went over the top rope in this match. It was just a lot of fun, and I thought it was really cool.
No, I agree. I'll just say this. Miro is at the point where, and we talked about it last week, where Bill asked, is it realistic that Sammy goes over? Is it a possibility that he can win? And I think we all kind of, threw it out there. There was a possibility that he could win. Whether or not they pulled the trigger or not, it was the ultimate question. The way they did it, I think, was really, really good. You got throwbacks to All Out when he was pulling the turnbuckles down. You had a throwback to Fuego del Sol, who got his cars taken away for the week before. It all worked out perfectly. Now the question is, what's next for Sammy Guevara? Obviously, Bobby Fish is up on deck. Not necessarily the greatest choice, but it's a start. I'll say this, and it's not my idea. I want to see something like what we did with Cody Rhodes. Not necessarily an open challenge, but I want to see the title defended every week. I think that way you get the title over as a secondary title. It becomes important, and then the person that's holding it, in this case, Sammy Guevara, who's one of the four pillars that MJF talked about, you get him over as well. So, I mean, if you do it like that, it's two birds, one stone. But the match itself, I thought was really good. They did it right. Miro is at this point where he can do no more with the TNT title. It's time for him to move up, and Sammy Guevara moves in. I thought it was done right.
Yeah, just in the idea of having it defended every week, I think that's a total babyface move. I think when a babyface has this the right way, and with the news that Rampage is staying on TNT and not moving to TBS, that's something that you can put on Rampage every week, and you know that you're going to get a title match every week. It's something like when I was a kid, I watched WCW Saturday Night. It was 6:05 on TBS. and you always got a television championship match. And I remember those champions so well. You know, it was like Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright. It was Lord Steven Regal. It was, Booker T, Chris Benoit. These guys.
You ain't supposed to say his name right.
He's heating up.
You ain't supposed to say his name right. That's not allowed around here.
If I say it 3 times, he shows up in my house and kills my family.
with the weight machine.
There's a weight machine in your house,
thought,
Zach?
listen, if Miro's going to lose it to anybody, Sammy Guevara is a good guy to lose it to. Sammy Guevara has had his problems in the past, and he has owned up to them as well as any young man could with things that he said about Sasha Banks way back. I mean, we don't have to rehash them. I got no problem with Sammy Guevara. I love Miro. Obviously, I love Miro. I mean, he's been my guy since we started the podcast, but I thought this was really good. Not much more to say about it. Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Now, guys, we've been doing the podcast for about an hour and 40 minutes now. Nobody wants to listen to this podcast for more than 2 hours. So
No, it's only been like an hour and 15. It ain't that bad.
no, that's not true. We started at 5:30. It's 7:11.
I don't think we got started right away. But anyway, let's not
Okay,
waste time.
well,
Splitting hairs,
I want to hear.
Now I know how you feel too, Beer. Okay, I feel better now.
No, now I want to hear Zack wax ecstatic for. Oh man, I can't even read this. Jesus Christ, it's so dark out here. Goto versus Tana Hoshi. Go ahead, Zack. Talk about it forever. No, I'm kidding. Okay. So we're going to talk about night 3 through night 6 on the NJPW G1. The first night, what I want you guys to tell me is, on a scale of 1 to 5, was this match poor, okay, kind of okay, good, or very good?
Okay, I can do that.
Actually, we'll make 5 great. So
Obviously.
we'll go Great Khan versus Yano in night 3. Now, you and I had already watched this night last week before Zack came on, but we'll let Zack go first. Great Khan versus Yano.
2 stars.
I'm giving it 3 stars. It was a callback to it was a callback to where he had to cut the hair off of Yano.
He did come out with the old hair.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that to me
good.
is a callback. That's a literal receipt in his hand, and he won the match. So I mean, that to me gives it that 3rd star.
Kenta versus Yujiro.
Yujiro has been the one of the 2 guys I really liked so far. It wasn't a lot of fuckery, but fuckery enough. 3 stars.
Zack?
I'll go 2 stars, maybe 2.25. It was fine. It was better than I expected. I thought it was going to be absolute dog shit.
Yeah, here's the thing about guys like Yujiro is that they weren't supposed to be in it this year. They were supposed to get guys like Moxley and, a couple more guys in. And then Yujiro gets thrown into it, and all of a sudden he decides to have himself a tournament. I thought this was good. I'll give it 2.5 stars. Ibushi versus Ishii. Ibushi goes over night 3. What do you think, Jason?
4 stars.
4 stars. I would give it 4 stars. I mean, I'd probably give it 3 stars. I mean, it wasn't great. Ibushi has not been great this tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have not decided yet whether this is
kayfabe or not.
intentional.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if he's just that good or if he's also just taking advantage of the situation of not being incredibly healthy.
Totally
to tell
agree.
a story. I just don't know. But
Okay, I'll say this. Up to this point, I've thought to myself, each match he's looked more and more healthy. When you sit up there and take 20 minutes off your life with Ishii in the ring, I think that's...
Have you watched Night 7 yet?
Yes.
Gee, motherfucker. Are you spoiling shit? Zack Saber Jr. versus Shingo Takagi.
Did I say who won?
Zach, what do you think?
5 stars.
Okay, so this is the one that we talked about last week where Zach hadn't watched it, and I was like, actually, my favorite match of the tournament thus far happened in night 3. It was Saber Jr. versus Takagi. It was fucking great.
The fact that you now have, at least up to this point, 2 LAJ guys going down, 2 former World Heavyweight Champions going down, at this point, this felt like the New Japan Cup run he had a couple years ago when he was tapping everybody out in his wake. This one feels a little more significant because he takes Naito out in the wake, and then he takes out the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
2 Beer Zach, did we ruin it for you last week?
No, not at all. I mean, like, I don't think anything could ruin this match.
No, but did you think that Saber won, though?
No, I didn't know. I didn't kind of read into anything. I loved it so much, and it's a total styles clash, but they're both a couple of the best workers in the world, and it just absolutely ruled. And the significance of Zack Sabre Jr.'s story. Now, this is a story. Like, when we're talking about, like, storytelling, like, this right here is a story. Like, the dude taps out Naito, 2-time G1 climax winner,
What you mean he didn't just come out at the end of a TV show and just point his fucking sword at the guy?
Miller Genuine Draft.
I'm sorry. He could have came out with a Zima and, pointed the Zima out. It'd been the same damn thing. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. But, he's just
motherfucker
on an absolute tear. And his promos afterwards are just hilarious, by the way.
His post-match promos have been unbelievable. And
Zack Sabre Jr. is amazing.
His Night 3 post-match promo said, "This is the Japanese dragon. Where's the American dragon?"
I was like,
So,
what?
So, now we have to start talking about stuff. So,
we got to make this thing happen.
Bryan Danielson has also said something about being the PWI Technical Wrestler of the Year. Like,
so the Wrestling Observer Award for Technical Wrestler of the Year is the Bryan Danielson Award. That's what it's called.
Damn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah,
why would Zack Sabre Jr. say that unless
you know why he said that shit?
Now this is a dream match.
Make that shit happen. No, it's already happened.
This is a dream. Yeah, but it's not. It hasn't happened in 2021.
Okay, so I don't want to call it a dream match because it's already happened. We can already go back and see it. However,
Omega Danielson happened before too, but
true story.
Neither one of them were as prominent as they are.
That's basically where I was going.
Or as good. They're better now than they've ever been.
They're more popular now. It's a
no.
Big fucking
They're
deal.
better now than they've ever been.
Okay, fine. You want to go with that?
And Danielson had already put Zack's name in his mouth because he had said, like, somebody said, like, oh, now that you're free, Forbidden Doors open, what would you like to do? He's like, I'd like to wrestle the dude who keeps winning my award every year.
Okay.
No, that would be fantastic.
It's totally game on at that point. And I watched that night 3, and he said that, and I immediately went on Twitter. I was like, holy shit, they're dropping the fucking seeds.
Night 4, Tana Hoshi versus Goto.
I think this is this is Tanahashi's first win. Back and forth match. Goto always brings it, but then I look up and Tanahashi's rolling up Goto. It feels like this is like a year ago when we were trying to figure out whether
if you had to make a bet, how many more G1s Goto would be in? What would you say?
3 easily. That dude is in shape. Easily.
I mean, he can work, but
Goto,
he's the bottom of the barrel, though.
No, he's not. He's really not. No, he's
it
really
depends on
not.
how many Gaijin they bring in. I think that's the only thing. It depends on how many Gaijin they bring in.
Even if he does, I mean, look like 3 years ago when we were all saying that like G1 was like the greatest thing since sliced Wonder Bread. Goto always had good matches, whether he won or lost. He always had good
Tama
matches.
Tonga versus Chase Owens. This match was for a Bullet Club match. This match was better than I thought it would be.
Agreed.
Dude, I thought, I did not have high hopes for this. I thought they were just going to dick around, and instead they're like, hey, we're both good wrestlers. Let's have a good wrestling match. And they did.
They did. And it was really telling because I always thought that Tama Tonga could be one of those guys that could be a good singles guy, and it never happened. I'm glad he and Tangaloa are getting this chance to run the tournament and see what they can do.
Can I admit something to you right now?
Of course.
I can't tell them apart.
Dude, are you fucking serious right now?
I can't.
Yeah.
I really thought it was only one guy until today, and I've watched every single. I've watched every single G1 match thus far.
You realize
they've won more tag titles than anybody in history.
You realize they're in two different blocks, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus
Of
Christ.
course. Yeah. I also can't tell Zack Saber Jr. and Tai Chi apart, but that's because they're both dangerous techers.
No shit.
And then we had
big swinging dicks.
we had Jeff Cobb versus Yoshihashi.
Yeah, I mean, Yoshihashi didn't have a chance, but this was a fun match. He's a very plucky individual, and he's like a perfect opponent for a heel Cobb. So.
No, I agree.
He sold like a motherfucker, Cobb, dude.
Dude, I mean,
he made Cobb look like $1 million fucking.
And that's what the deal is supposed to be. Once I found out Cobb and Okada is the final night of the B block, you know where this is going. It's just a matter. This is okay. Here's your story that you've been asking for like an hour and a half ago.
Now, my favorite match of the night was Tai Chi versus Sonata.
Really?
This is the most I've enjoyed a Sonata match in a long time.
Two beer?
Yeah, this is my favorite match of that night. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Nah, I'm surprised because especially
I love Tai Chi. For one, and I hate Sonata.
Okay,
so maybe I didn't have a whole lot of expectations going into it.
Okay, that's why I was kind of wondering because you're giving this match props and Sonata's in it. That's where I was like, what the fuck's really going on? No, look, I love the fact that
Tai Chi had his working shoes on,
right?
You know?
And he's been him in like order.
Can you imagine if we get a Dangerous Techers final?
No, I mean that means Tai Chi's got to beat Cobb and Okada on the way to the final.
God, it'd be cool though.
That's asking a lot.
They could lose the chip or whatever, right?
Dude, just no. Think about what you're asking at this point.
I know
Tai Chi beats. Okay, I'll give you Jeff Cobb. I'll give you that. Maybe, shit happens.
I'll say this.
You going to have Tai Chi beating Okada when he's doing the Rainmaker at this point? He's mowing everybody down?
Wrestle Kingdom is three nights this week or this year?
Next year.
Next year? No.
I
mean, this year.
Yeah, whatever. Go ahead. It's 3 nights.
You could have Zack Sabre Jr. lose the G1 thing.
The briefcase,
and then have somebody else go on.
The yen in the bank.
And then you could have Zack Sabre Jr. You could have him fight Daniel Bryanson, which would be awesome.
Okay. All right.
I think that's happening.
Okay. So
I'm calling it right now. That's happening.
So you're saying in one night of Wrestle Kingdom, we're getting Daniel Bryanson versus Zack Sabre Jr. No titles, no nothing. We're just going to do it to see who's the best technical wrestler in the world.
Chill me out, dude. Start talking about baseball. Getting a boner.
Now, I'll just say this. I'd rather have Daniel Bryanson go through the G1 versus the one shot. If we're going to do it, I want to be greedy about it. I want him to do a G1 match versus a one-shot versus Zack Sabre Jr. That's just me.
What do you think, Zach?
I think it's incredibly tangential, and Okada versus Evil was the main event, and it was fine. It would have been better 2 years ago whenever Evil wasn't with Dick Togo.
I mean,
Dick Togo.
Okada versus Evil was fine. It's like, there's just so much bullshit. Like, that's not why I'm watching New Japan, but
Dude, my favorite thing
I'm a broken
Kevin
record on this, though.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton just totally taking the piss.
Okay, they are just taking a nice little dump on Evil. I'm like, damn.
It was so good. Like, 8 people tried to clap, like, whenever Dick Togo, like, got involved, and Kevin Kelly's like, oh, yeah, Evil and Dick Togo really resonating with this crowd. They love all the shenanigans.
He said, jumping ahead to night 6 when Evil beat Taichi,
yeah.
Kevin Kelly says, if you want to unite a fan base, have them watch an Evil match.
Dude.
That's pretty hardcore,
dude. Man. He ain't lying, though. I mean,
he ain't lying.
That's the bad part about it. I liked Evil 2 years ago. I am not a fan of this Evil right now. This is not what I thought we were going to get.
All right, so we had...
I'll tell you what we did get that was awesome.
Cobb versus Yoshihashi. I'm sorry.
Yuji Nagata and Shingo. So it's the next night. And this was not a tournament match because Nagata's taking the place of Naito, but nobody gets a night off. Shingo is still selling the arm. And you skipped the match? You didn't watch it?
I did not watch it, no.
Oh, man. 4.5 stars. Go back and watch it. Like, Shingo is selling his arm from the previous
listen, motherfucker.
Match.
You told me to skip matches because you were like, skip matches. I'm going to skip matches.
I did, but not this one.
Well, no, the only
reason
that you probably shouldn't skip this match is because the Shingo arm is an ongoing story, and we're going to talk about this coming up here in a little bit.
Okay, we have not held tight to what I said. We're just going to give star ratings. Great O'Con versus Yujiro. Better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'd give it 3 stars.
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 is fine.
Yano versus Tangaloa.
2 stars.
I really can't tell the difference between Tangaloa
Jesus fucking Christ. They're in 2 different blocks, dude.
This was not good. I mean, this was like 1 star. I love Yano, but I think Yano's kind of wore out his welcome. Like, start having real matches. Like, this is at least 4 years in a row.
I'm officially drunk.
Of this shit. Kenta versus Ishii. Kenta goes over.
Best Kenta match in a long time. I give it 4 stars.
Yeah, it was good.
No, it was a banger-ass match. No question about it.
Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ibushi. He taps him out.
It was like Ibushi's getting ready to tap him out, and then next thing you know, the bell's ringing. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Oh, Zack Sabre Jr. just won. I had to rewind that shit. I was like, okay, that's how it happened. Zack Sabre Jr.
You guys want to know the last time Kota Ibushi tapped out in a New Japan ring?
2015.
2014, so close.
Okay.
Who tapped him out?
I don't know that. Let me look.
How you not going to have the answer for it?
And then night 6, we have
I knew that bit.
Evil versus Taichi, which we talked about. Evil goes over. Sonata versus Owens. Better than it should have been.
Better than it should have been. Chase Owens, Yujiro, 2 guys that have stepped up to the plate in a scenario where they shouldn't even been in this tournament.
Yeah, they're there to lose, but
they are putting up good matches.
Yes. We had Cobb versus Goto. Cobb threw Goto around like a fucking rag doll.
He snatched him up for the tour of the islands like a small, or not even small child.
He also ran him back from turnbuckle to turnbuckle. Just, I mean, really impressive stuff. Jeff Cobb is...
B block is going down to Jeff Cobb versus Okada.
And then we had Tana Hoshi versus Thoma Tonga.
Thoma Tonga is probably going to be awake at night thinking about this match, at least in kayfabe. He had the ace pretty much locked down. Did the Aces move, did the fucking, sling blade, did the high fly flow.
Zach,
hit him with
what
the
do you
gun
think?
stun and lost the match.
Sorry, I was looking up trying to find this answer. What match?
Tana Hoshi versus Tama Tonga.
Oh yeah, I mean that was good, but yeah, I mean like Tanahashi's always gonna have a good match, and Tama Tonga, he is a good athlete and he's capable of having good matches. He's not gonna turn it off. I love whenever he did the high fly flow, that big frog splash, that was cool. But yeah, quick win, from Tanahashi, really kind of gave Tama Tonga an out. He didn't dominate him or anything. He just rolled him up, tale of experience more than anything.
And then the match that I freaking loved, which was Yoshihashi versus Okada.
Oh my God, it was so good.
29 and a half minutes. It was incredible. Yoshihashi has probably been the unsung hero of the G1 so far.
Yujiro.
Listen, I'll say this.
Yujiro.
When the G1 lineups came out this year, there were a lot of people on Twitter that were very upset about it. They were saying there's a lot of undercard guys here. These are guys that don't have a chance to win it. But these guys have been going out and doing their all, and it has been a fun G1 so far, and we're not even halfway through it, and I can't wait to watch the rest of it.
No, I agree with you totally, just in the sense that it felt underwhelming, but the guys that that felt underwhelming have stepped up to the plate. So now this feels like a legit G1 where now there's drama involved. You've got, drama on both sides, more so on the A block versus the B block. Like I said, to me, the B block is basically down to two guys. The A block might be down to one guy, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
What you think of that match yet, Zach?
Oh, Yoshihashi and Okada, I thought it was awesome. Two dudes from the same faction.
Which you
don't
never
see
see.
it that often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yoshihashi just killed it. I also saw somebody post on Reddit a picture. It was like a matchup of Okada versus Yoshihashi when they both got back from excursion. And talk about glow-ups. Oh, my God. You guys, they look like middle schoolers. Like such nerds. They both have such fat faces. It was hilarious.
And that's going to do it for our 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
All right. NXT talk right now. What do you guys want to say?
I would say this. For me, and this is really the only thing I want to talk about because the other things I've already talked about before. We've always asked who's going to beat Roman Reigns. Who's the guy that's going to beat Roman Reigns? I'm going to throw out Braun Breaker out there. I think in 2 years. No, I'm dead ass serious. I think, no. Look how hard they're going to push. They're pushing him now. No, I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy. But just hear me out for 30 seconds. This is the reason why you're doing NXT to begin with. You want these guys to be the next stars.
Sure.
They want them to be the next possible WrestleMania guys. There's nobody that's on the main roster right now that I can think of that you can put up against Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar included, because obviously that's coming up here on at Crown Jewel here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody I can think of that you can put up against Roman Reigns right now that we can say, oh, Roman Reigns loses to X.
What do you think, Zach?
I mean, he's not wrong. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But, dude, Braun Breaker won me over. I mean, the best thing on the show was the index vignette. But I'd say the second best thing on the show was Braun Breaker saying, "You want a friend? I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Get a dog."
Okay.
Dude, what a line! You can tell, he has more of Scott in him than he does Rick. He looks like Rick, but he acts like Scott.
Yeah,
and ultimately,
he definitely acts like Scott.
And ultimately, I think that to me is what WWE is looking for.
I guess my biggest problem with the new NXT, and I know I've sang its praises in the last couple of weeks, is that it's just so many guys. It's like OVW. It's like they're just trying to get characters over instead of wrestlers over, and I guess that's.
But that's WWE though.
I don't even know if they're trying to get them over. I think they're giving them practice on TV.
Right. I think they're throwing shit up at the wall to see what sticks, what doesn't stick.
That will end up biting them in the ass.
Joe Gacy's apparently his, lefty gimmick is now already biting the dust after 2 weeks. So, I mean, this is going to be...
As a lefty, everything he says, I agree with. He's like, he says this should be a safe space. I agree with that.
The wrestling wing should be a safe space.
Palestine should have its own country. I agree with that, Joe Gacy.
I was getting ready to say, they already threw that shit to the dust.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about with NXT?
No, we talked about Index. I don't even remember what the main event was. That's a goddamn shame.
It was Frankie Monet versus Rick
And that's
Gonzalez.
why I don't remember it because
lasted
it was
6.5 minutes.
Yeah, totally underwhelming. Thanks for making me wait 3 weeks for that.
This is banned from ringside.
Hey, guys, we got some birthdays this week.
Who's older than me?
Curtis Axel is 42. Yokozuna is 55. Not that much older than me.
No, R.I.P. Damn.
John Morrison is 42. Chief
Jesus.
Jay Strongbow,
R.I.P.
93. Yeah, Abyss is 48.
Perfect.
I can barely read this. This is so dark. We're out here in the nighttime. Oh, Linda McMahon is 73. She was
easy.
She was part of the Trump cabinet, so respect her.
Stop.
Terry Runnels is 55.
Nice.
Zema Ion, who is in LDF right now, is 35.
Who goes up, LDF or Hit Row? If you had to take one or the other,
Hit Row.
One or the other goes up.
Hit Row. It's not even
Zach,
close.
what do you got? Hit Row or LDF? Who goes up?
I would say Hit Row, but they are always looking for that next Latin talent. So,
okay,
I'm always looking for that next Latin talent too.
Man, you better keep that shit down. See, your wife come out here like Freddy Krueger. Right? What'd you say?
Tell you what, when I met her, she was all tan. I'd call her my Mexican girlfriend.
See, I will leap over this fucking barricade and leave your ass here, take this computer, and be out.
Her name was Erin Tapentia.
See, you ain't shit.
Bruno Sammartino, he would have been 86, R.I.P. Demolition Smash is 62. Dude, it's so dark out here.
I'm not mad at you. Look, I will vouch for you. He is looking at it in the dark. Pitch dark.
Also, it's my dog Reba's
Reba.
3rd birthday. She is.
I've been here for all 3.
3 years old. What
Now
a
I'm
good
feeling
dog.
old.
What a good puppy.
Rabbit fever, middle of
Hey, everybody.
the night.
We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Murray the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
For Lucha Chris.
Check.
For Vice.
Check.
For Ed the May, baby.
Check.
For Reba the Rebanator.
Birthday girl. Check. You better throw your wife in there. You better throw your wife in
Oh, for
there.
Aaron. For Aaron.
Yeah.
Sure.
Check,
Yeah.
yeah.
For 2 beers, Zach Pullman. For Jason Cornelius Bell.
Need you
I
out,
am
bitches.
Bill Vagey, a.k.a. the Stone Pitbull, and
That's
everybody
bullshit.
boo the heat.